Let's go ahead and get started. And the time is now 6 p.m. and this meeting has been duly posted, and we do have a quorum present at this time. This meeting will be held by video conference in compliance with federal, state, and local mandates associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. The quorum of the board will not be physically present at one location and will convene remotely using Zoom. The meeting will be broadcast live on dallasisd.swagit.com, dallasisdtx.swagit.com. Subjects to be discussed or considered and upon which formal action may be taken are as listed in the agenda below. Items do not have to be taken in the order shown. Members of the public will not appear in person. Persons desiring to speak will call the Office of Board Services at 972-925-3720 during the registration period outlined in BED Local. Each speaker will be provided details on how to communicate directly with the board during the public forum session of the meeting. Only members of the public who are properly registered will be allowed to speak during the meeting. So let me wrap the gavel once to commence the meeting. We are now at 6:08 p.m. Good evening and welcome to the monthly board meeting of the Dallas Independent School District Board of Trustees. Please stand. Please stand. And join us for a moment of silence and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and a salute to the Texas flag. All right, Trustee Henry, you may take over at this point. Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag. Someone, go ahead. I think I'm gonna cut out. Sorry.
I think Trustee Flores was leading us in the Texas Pledge. Trustee Flores?
Was I going to do the Texas Pledge?
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, indivisible.
Thank you, Trustee Flores. Sorry about you all. So the following trustees will be participating in this board meeting via video conferencing. We have District 1, Edwin Flores; District 2, Trustee Marshall; District 3, Trustee Mitch Case; District 4, Trustee Garcia; District 5, Trustee Johnson; District 6, District 7, Trustee 8, Trustee Solis. Our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Michael Hostas, joins us, and I'm Justin Henry, Board President. Trustee Mitch Case, did you already do the kind of waiver from Governor Abbott's language?
I saved that for you.
Okay. All right, on March 16th, Governor Greg Abbott granted a request by Attorney General Ken Paxton to temporarily suspend a limited number of open meetings laws to the extent necessary to allow telephonic and video conference meetings in response to coronavirus COVID-19. In accordance with those suspended rules, we certify the following. A, note of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. Although members of the board are not gathered in a physical at the meeting by video conference or telephone call. We're meeting by use of Zoom meeting software application, which allows two-way communication for members of the public. As we would at any in-person meeting, members of the public who have followed the instructions on the meeting notice for registering to speak during the public comment portion will be unmuted for 3 minutes to speak. If you would like to provide comment at a future meeting conducted by video conference, please follow instructions on the meeting notice. E, all other meeting procedures will adhere to board adopted procedures to the extent practicable. F, an audio recording of this meeting is being made and will be made available to the public. G, we apologize in advance for any unforeseeable difficulties and ask for your patience as we navigate unprecedented conditions. H, if you have any questions about these suspended laws, please call the Office of Attorney General at 888-672-6787 or email at toma@oag.texas.gov. Thank you. So right now, trustees, there are no recognitions. We are going to begin with the superintendent's report. Superintendent Olson.
Thank you, President Henry, members of the board. I'll be brief, although I do have several items to report on. First of all, the bond planning continues for bond 2020. A number of almost 18,000 participants took part in the Zoom call or the teletown halls that occurred in the last month. The executive committee is going to be meeting next week to bring you the final recommendations for your consideration next month. And so with the plan of still moving forward at this point. Secondly, I want to thank all of our staff members, and particularly Dr. Elizalde and Tony Cordova for their leadership in our graduation ceremonies. They have, under very difficult circumstances, they have really been outstanding, and these they have been viewed over 400,000 times via social media. And so I also want to thank all the participants who have done an outstanding job in making this the best of a difficult situation. And it was capped off by the senior ovation observation and the light show at Reunion Tower and the Omni Hotel. So we want to thank our community partners also for trying to make this a significant and memorable event. Operation Connectivity keeps moving forward. We keep getting positive signs, all three at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level. Recently, we've heard now that the Senate may be considering some of the opportunities for Operation Connectivity to become a reality as part of the HEROES Act that they are considering. And then finally, I'd like to report that starting next week, we will slowly and surely start bringing employees back. We have an employee playbook that has been put together by our outstanding team with the support of CBRE Ellis, CBRE real estate firm, and they gave us a framework, and our team has really taken it and run with it. We will follow all social distancing expectations, and the month of June will basically be voluntary. But I'm very pleased and proud of all the staff members who have gone through the buildings and identified how, with signage, how we will make sure that we follow all the expectations of the health department and the state and the CDC, Centers for Disease Control. So those are the biggest things I need to report to you on this evening, and that concludes my report. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Superintendent. And also, we're now moving on to reports 3.02, the Minority Women Business Enterprise Report.
Good evening, trustees. Dr. Hinojosa. My name is Annie Partee, and I will present the Minority Women Business Enterprise Report. Thank you for this opportunity to share this presentation with you this evening. Again, Annie Partee, and if you would, please go to slide number 3 for me. There will begin our report discussion. Just to reiterate that the goal of the district is to involve minority and women-owned companies in a legal and meaningful way in all aspects of the district's purchasing and contracting opportunities. Just an overview of some of our MWBE and procurement initiatives. We are respectfully requesting board members to submit the names of appointments for our MWBE Advisory Committee. We're asking for individuals that have knowledge and expertise in the areas of minority women and business enterprises, supplier diversity, public policy, as well as the legal requirements regarding MWBEs. They can be a vendor, however, they could not be a district vendor. Each board member has 2 appointments that they can share to us for consideration and appointment. We're also in the process of conducting an availability and disparity study. We conducted our first 2 introductory meetings, and we also have the work plan established. And as far as the MWBE initiatives, we're working on improving our joint venture guidelines. We have a boilerplate joint venture contract, as well as we are making revisions to our MWBE evaluation scoring criteria, compliance guidelines and forms in our MWBE policy manual. This is also under the leadership of the legal services and consultant with an outside attorney. And as far as our staff connections, we conducted 2 workshops, 4 webinars, 32 personalized vendor training sessions, and we participated in outreach events, meetings, as well as pre-bids during January through March. The next slide, please. This is just a reminder to our trustees regarding the MWBE Advisory Committee appointments. This particular committee is very integral to the success of our MWBE program, so we're respectfully requesting board members send us 2 appointments to include on this committee. The next slide, please. The slide that I have before you is the 2015 bond program total MWBE utilization from the inception of the bond program for 2015 up through and including March the 31st, 2020. As you know, in the area of construction, the board has established a 30% MWBE goal, and our current utilization today of the 2015 bond program is 57.3%. And our bond funded professional services, we have a 35% MWBE goal, and our current utilization for the 2015 bond program is 41.61%. Next slide, please. The next slide that I have before you is the 2008 bond program MWBE utilization, and this is the beginning of the 2008 bond program up to and including March 31st, 2020. Our goal for the area of construction is 30%. Our utilization was 49%. In the area of professional services, our goal is 35%, and our current utilization is 39%. And on this particular 2008 bond program, we only had about 6 purchase orders or payment within this particular quarter, and most of it was in the area of Ignite Middle School. The next slide, please. The next slide that we have before you is the Bridge program, and that's the total MWBE utilization from the initial payments under the Bridge program, which was 3 funds, and it included up to March the 31st, 2020. In this particular category, we had approximately $223,000 that was paid. Our construction goal is 30%. Utilization was 73%. Professional services goal is 35%. And our utilization, we fell slightly below that at 24% actual MWBE participation. And that is actually based upon payments and not purchase orders. The next slide I have before you is strictly Fund 199, which is our general operating fund. And again, we have a board established goal of 30% in this particular area, and our utilization is 13.44%. And that includes categories such as your technology, office supplies, equipment, educational consultants as well, trophies, plaques, and awards, and et cetera, technology. And in this particular goal of 30%, the utilization was actually 13.44%. So we're falling below that goal yet again. And also the board has requested in past quarters that we also show them the number of utilization with the non-certified MWBEs. Should we have been able to capture that, it would have been at 15.9%. And also, trustees, I just would like to reiterate on the very initial slide that I discussed some of our MWBE and procurement initiatives. Those are some of the things that we are trying to implement in order to achieve this 30% MWBE goal. We are working directly with construction services, not construction services, procurement services, to assist in this particular area, doing things such as vendor expos, looking at ways to improve with our multiple vendor awards, meeting with vendors as well, workshops on certification and how to do business with Dallas ISD, working with other public entities regarding notifications of some of our upcoming business opportunities, certification workshops, etc. The next slide that I have before you is simply a variety of different funds. And this is specifically to the quarter and not year to date. And as far as, for example, you have it before you, one of the areas that we've been done extremely well is Fund 240, which is our food services. We have about 26% MWB participation. Graphics, which is Funds 752, 27% participation, et cetera, et cetera. I've shared with you the MWBE dollars spent as well as the total district dollars. And the one that I have bolded and highlighted at the very top, in years past, we used to have a different approach to providing to the trustees our MWBE participation. So we simply captured all of the funds together, everything coming from our accounts payable module. We also had check requests in there. We excluded some things such as utilities and payments to other cities and benefits costs, et cetera, et cetera. So it's pretty much a combination or a wrap up of all funds as well. I think we may have even some textbook allotments, which may have been rolled up in that number. So utilizing that historical approach, if we had done it the same way, we would have been at the quarter, 13% MWBE, which is pretty much in line with our Fund 199 as well. Next slide, please. The next slide I have before you is simply community action photos, the MWBE department and our executives and our board of trustees in the community. And we're always very appreciative of the board support and the superintendents and executive leadership. We have in the slides before us a presentation by Trustee Garcia, who was the keynote speaker for the Southeast Dallas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, as well as we had some training with our procurement team. And we simply talked about things as far as preparing the board document, looking at the MWBE statistics, and how to prepare effectively for an outreach. So we always like to work together internally as well as external, to educate and inform the business community about doing business with Dallas ISD. And again, I would be remiss if I did not say thank you to our trustees for your continuous support for working with our MWBE program. Trustees, do you have any questions regarding the presentation that I've made? Which is pretty much it.
Thank you, Ms. Partee. Trustees, do we have any questions? Trustee Johnson.
Thank you, Ms. Partee, for your report. Got a few questions to ask. Just trying to go over this report, so bear with me, if you will. This report, I guess this is on the 2015 bond. I understand that the 57% was because prime and sub combined together. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Okay. I noticed that when you submitted the construction recommendation for construction projects for the MWBE, it's only with the sub vendor. Is that correct?
Would you elaborate on the recommendation, sir?
When you guys submitted the construction recommendation, I guess, to the board for projects for the MWBE, is it only with the sub vendor? Is that correct?
Well, no, there has not been any changes. Our goals has been at the subcontracting level, but we always show our trustees the prime as well as subcontractor participation amount. There are different formulas that we have embedded in there. For instance, if the payment is going to an MWBE prime that's certified, we count it at 100%. However, if it's going to a non-MWBE prime, for instance, a white male company, we will count their certified subcontractor dollars. And we also include the joint venture partnership, their percentage split as well. So we roll all of those numbers together to show the Board of Trustees the overall spend with minorities at both the prime and sub. So there has not been any recommendation to change that process unless the board so desires.
Okay, and I got the package this morning because I requested it late. But so just bear with me because I'm toggling back and forth between this and my notes.
Okay.
I do like the 57%. That's great. How can we guarantee that we'll do the same or move from the construction standpoint?
Of course, you're saying guarantees. I cannot guarantee, but I'll tell you some of the same tenets of our MWBE program are still in place. We have a 20% weight on your MWBE evaluation scoring criteria. We also are looking at ways to level the playing field for your MWBE certified prime vendors as well. We also have the 30% MWBE goal, which is still there in the area of construction. Additionally to that, we'll probably be making some changes after we complete our availability and disparity study. But as for right now, we're going to continue things such as our workshops, advocating for MWBE, focus group session, disseminating our upcoming business opportunities through our iSupplier vendor database, as well as independently by our MWBE department. We also have representation on all of the district's selection committees where we are a voting member as well. So we're doing those things in order that we may ensure the inclusion of minority and women-owned companies. But respectfully, I cannot guarantee, but we will do our due diligence to ensure that we meet or exceed the board's expectations and goals.
Okay, thank you. Again, this 57%, did we reach that 57% because of our approach to have the program managers to manage our projects, or did we do something internally to achieve that goal?
We did both. Of course, we have our program managers managing several contracts, as well as we have some of our Dallas ISD construction services team members managing some contracts as well. But we still have the same MWBE program and guidelines on both approaches. So both approaches have worked well for MWBE utilization across the district. But one of the things that is central to both is that we have the same MWBE guidelines and sign off on the different pay activity reports and evaluations, etc.
Okay, I don't know if you answered my question. Let me see. Maybe maybe Tim can answer my question on this. Is Tim Strusley available?
I don't think Tim is on, Trustee Johnson, but
is Chief Lane available?
Yeah, Chief Lane?
Yes, I am here.
Okay.
Hey, how you doing, Chief Lane? Thank you, thank you, Chief Lear. I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked Miss Partee. I don't know if she answered it. Did we reach the 57% because of our approach to have program managers manage our projects? Or is this something that we did internally to achieve that goal from a construction standpoint?
Well, I think Annie's better equipped to answer that, Trustee Johnson. I know the program managers, I believe, fall under the professional services category and not under the construction. So it definitely helps as far as their participation. But I think Annie would have to answer you because she's the one that actually calculates the numbers.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, I was looking at the 57.3% under construction. I was also looking at the 41.61% under the professional services. But I was just trying to see, did the program managers help us achieve that goal?
Okay. When you look at from a counting perspective, I thought you were talking from an application perspective and what we do to ensure the inclusion. However, from an accounting perspective, definitely the program management firms, we do count their MWBE utilization. That is correct. For instance, we have one of our program manager is 100% MWBE. We have certified Dakita Banner, which is a certified African-American company and certified Hispanic female company. And they have come together to form a joint venture partnership. So that has definitely been very impressive and has assisted us with the professional services number.
Okay, I guess, I don't know if this is a Chief Lane question. With that being said, are we going to continue to have Chief Lane program managers in the district, especially when we're looking at the 2020 bond that's coming up?
Yes, sir. We do plan on using them in some format. What I will have to do, Trustee Johnson, is prepare a new RFQ to go out to solicit companies to come forward. So we would do that as a part of the 2020 bond. As far as how that would look and how many program managers would be selected, that has yet to be determined.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if I'm over my time. I'm trying to rush through my questions. I have a lot of questions. When I'm looking at and I'm just making a statement, altogether, when I'm looking at the 30% and the 57.3 is good, but under construction, I see it's a white female, it's 29.4%. When you add up the total minority, it's totaled out to be 27.8%. To me, that's just not a good look. That definitely needs to be addressed. Also, let's go to, I'm kind of rushing through here, the procurement. I think it was page number 8.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking, it says 13.44%, and the goal is 30%. Can you tell me what happened there? That does not look equitable.
Yes, sir. That has been one of our Achilles heels. That has been very challenging for us over the years. For instance, I'll give you an example. You will have a small company potentially competing against a large company. For instance, we will have multiple vendor awards. Let's give you an example of office supply. We have 3 office supply vendors, 4 office supply vendors on a multiple vendor award. And then as district employees, we are given the opportunity to choose either one of those 4 vendors. So sometimes brand and name recognitions will encourage people to utilize one vendor over another. Sometimes it's relationships that they have established over the years as well. And so it's a competitive environment when you have some companies that have smaller cash flow versus some with larger cash flow. You may have a small mom and pop company competing against a national corporation like an IBM, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I'll give you an example of that would be in the area of technology. You have some small technology companies going against the IBMs of the world, et cetera, et cetera. So, and this particular category does not oftentimes or always lend itself to subcontractor participation. We do have a good faith efforts program, and it's pretty much the most responsive bidder will win. And so we are not having as much subcontractor participation in these particular areas due to the nature of the business. Oftentimes it's a buy-sell transaction. We are buying a widget, they're shipping it directly from their company to Dallas ISD. Doesn't lend itself to a lot of subcontracting opportunities as well. So those are some of the issues that we face. And also we had a category years back where we had paper, and that paper was by a certified MWBE company. However, the company chose to join forces or sell part of their company to another company, so they were no longer certified MWBE. And again, this category, we have companies that choose not to become MWBE certified. So those are some of the challenges that we have in this particular category. So we try to do a lot of outreach, training and workshops to encourage people to come out and bid on these work. And this particular category does not oftentimes lend itself to our joint venture partnership as well. So those are some of the challenges that we face, and we are just trying to work diligently to at least get the word out and provide training such as how to put together an RFP or RFQ, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, let me ask you this quick. I'm sorry. Does procurement help with this process as well?
Oh, definitely. Procurement and MWBE works together.
Okay, is Mr. Chris, is Chris online?
Trustee Johnson, you got about a minute.
Yes, sir. I'm here. Hey, Chris, can you take 30 seconds to answer this? With the points, what are we doing to get that up? What's your plan?
Well, I think Annie articulated it earlier in her presentation that we work very closely with her team. We have the points available. We're doing a number of outreach. We're working directly with Annie to educate our buyers. In addition, we've got a plan in the upcoming year to increase knowledge within our end users so that when they do make those selections, they can make informed selections.
Okay, that's a concern of mine. My son is a quarterback, Chris, and sometimes when he make a play, he give me smooth answers until I go back and watch the film and see it was something different. That answer was pretty smooth, but when I'm looking at the numbers, it doesn't add up. It's not equitable. It's not showing creativity. It's also not allowing parents of the students are not able to get the benefit from the dollars that's being spent. So I would like to see that come up, because that's a strong disparity, and that's a very high concern of mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Johnson. Trustee Mackey, I saw your hand. You still?
I'm all set. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Partee, as always, for the work the MWU department's doing and continues to do. I really appreciate you.
Thank you as well. Are there any other questions?
No, I don't think there are. I think that was it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're moving on to Board of Trustee committee reports. Trustees, are there any committee reports? Just feel free to just hop in. Trustee Flores.
Yes, Trustee Henry, I have an audit committee report. The audit committee and the video and all the exhibits are available on our website. The audit committee met on May 19th, 2020, and we considered a number of actions. We received a report on the district financial update from Chief Thompson. We considered and approved the audit plan for the 2020-2021 school year. We also approved the budget, and we accepted and made final a number of internal audit reports, and we received a report on the internal audit department's annual results of their quality assessment improvement program, and then we received a report on the internal audit manual, and we took action to make changes to the internal. Well, actually, we didn't make any changes to the internal audit charter, but we have to approve that on a yearly basis. And we received also a report on the district hotline. So that is the audit committee report. Thank you, President Henry.
Thank you, Trustee Flores. Other reports, I don't think there are. Okay, we're going to continue to trustee reports for districts 1 through 9. We'll start with Trustee Flores in District 1 and go all the way through District 9.
Well, once again, thank you, President Henry. So just some highlights from District 1. First, I would like to highlight the work of teachers at Walnut Hill Elementary School who designed and launched their own distance learning platform to support learning and keep in touch with students and parents. Even in the face of the continued adversity, these teachers have risen to the occasion to support their students' achievements, and we are very grateful for their hard work. I also want to congratulate Ismadi Diaz from Thomas Jefferson High School, whose essay discussing the local and national response to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic won 3rd place in an essay competition sponsored by the Dallas Urban Debate Alliance. Congratulations, Ms. Diaz. And finally, I would like to celebrate and congratulate all the seniors that graduated from WTY High School and from Thomas Jefferson High School that are physically in District 1, but all our students. You did it. You have shown an exemplary strength and ingenuity to overcome the ongoing pandemic, and we expect great things from you in the future. Thank you, President Henry.
Thank you, Trustee Flores. Just keep going with Trustee 2, District 2 through District 9.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to first just apologize to my colleagues in the administration and community members. I'm having to unexpectedly take this Zoom call from my car, which I'm on my way to a computer, but I unexpectedly had to take my daughter to the emergency room. So I apologize for any problems in connectivity or sound quality, but I'll be brief with the District 2 remarks. First, I want to congratulate the North Dallas High School varsity girls soccer team that was announced that they were co-district champions. So congrats on the huge accomplishment. Also want to congratulate the Woodrow boys soccer team that was district champs this year for District 11-5A under the amazing leadership of their coach there. Also want to congratulate the Benjamin Franklin debate team that won 2nd place in the first ever Dallas Urban Debate Alliance essay contest on the topic of COVID-19, and the Hillcrest High School team that won 2nd place in the comprehensive high school division. I want to thank the Lakewood Elementary house party that raised over $57,000 for the Long and Woodrow Peace Pantries, as well as for other causes at the school, including the wish list for the school year. And I want to thank the Woodrow Wilson class of 1966 that for the 24th year in a row generously awarded 6 scholarships to the senior class of 2020. And lastly, I want to extend my congratulations to the Woodrow and North Dallas seniors that have just graduated. Obviously not the ideal graduation ceremony that we all had in mind, but very proud of them, and soon to be proud of the Hillcrest Panthers that graduate as well. So want to extend my congratulations to all 3 groups, and that concludes the District 2 report.
I'll go ahead and give the District 3 report, and I'm glad to see that Trustee Marshall was able to complete that without going off the road. First, I want to congratulate all of the graduates from Bryan Adams High School and Emmett J. Conrad High School, as well as all of our other Dallas ISD graduates, and just say to them, as you receive your diploma, remember what accomplished so far and all the wonderful things that still await you. I would like to add a heartfelt thanks to the staff, parents, and community members who worked so hard to make this milestone happen. I also want to send out a big congratulations to Universal Mu from Conrad High School, who recently won the Award of Achievement in Art given by the Dallas Public Library. In addition to receiving the award, her artwork appears as the cover of a printed poetry anthology that was part of the library's Express Yourself Youth Poetry Competition. In addition, I'd like to congratulate Conrad English teacher Karen Isbell for her support of the competition that encourages students to love reading. And then finally, I want to congratulate Clarita Rivera, who is an executive director who is retiring. She was the executive director in the in East Dallas area for the last couple of years, but she served the district for 43 years, and we wish her all the best. Congratulations and thank you.
Now for the District 4 report, the School for the Talented and Gifted in Pleasant Grove will host a virtual community meeting on June the 1st at 5:30 to follow a discussion on campus renovation as part of the 2015 bond. Central Elementary will have their meeting on June 2nd at 5 p.m. John Quincy Adams Elementary teamed up with the Pleasant Grove Food Pantry to carry out a meal distribution today. Thank you all for your efforts and to our volunteers. And happy to share that Spruce High School is among the 8 schools that will be partnering with Brighter Bites to distribute produce boxes to the community. This is already in addition to the district providing a week's worth of grab-and-go meals at nearly 40 schools, and extending the congratulations to our high school seniors. Spruce, Samuel, Seagoville, extremely proud of you, and as I shared in my message to you all, son el orgullo de nuestra comunidad. Felicidades.
Here's the District 5 report. Congratulations to Dominic Harris of Wilma Hutchins High School and Kevin Contreras of Barack Obama Male Leadership Academy for being the District 5 recipients of $10,000 Salentic Family Foundation scholarships. Good job, both of you. Major kudos to Ivan Barrera, a senior at New Tech High School, who is one of 100 students selected in the entire U.S. to attend the PATS program at Texas A&M and College Station. The Post-Secondary Access and Training Human Services Certificate Program prepares individuals for jobs as direct support professionals and child care professionals. Way to go, Ivan. Shout out to Principal Foster, who was named the lead principal at Kennedy Carey Middle School. Welcome to District 5. Also want to give a shout out to the South Oak Cliff cafeteria workers, Pinkston cafeteria workers, and Wilma Hutchins, those that have been working to make sure that our kids are fed, our community, the South Oak Cliff Barricade alumni, the Roosevelt community, Tony Johnson and the pastor at Cedar Crest Church of Christ that are endlessly, tirelessly doing everything they can to make sure that our community and our kids have food and just volunteering their time. Thank you so much to Sherry Christian and her staff, New Morning Star Church staff that's there, making sure that our kids are eating. And in West Dallas, you're greatly appreciated. You're definitely essential workers, and we appreciate your volunteer. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and go to District 7.
All right, good evening. I'd like to start out by congratulating Nakia Hall from Trinity Garza Early Collegiate High School for being named one of only 300 students across the nation to receive the prestigious Bill Gates Millennium Scholarship this year. That is an incredible accomplishment. So amazing job, Nakia. Congratulations on that. I'd like to give also a shout out to Quintanilla Middle School, eighth grade students for earning 3rd place in the Texas Academic Pentathlon for Region 5. Keep up the great work. Excited to see you bring home more ribbons and trophies along the way. And then also want to give a shout out and congratulations to the 20 District 7 teachers who received a $1,000 Walmart or Amazon voucher from Keep Kids Learning program. You all do an amazing job every day. We know teachers across this entire system have done an amazing job in these incredible circumstances, and we just thank you for all the work that you're doing. And again, to join my colleagues, I'd like to give a shout out to all of the seniors this year who are graduating. Not the graduation that you expected, but nothing can take away what you've done, and we're so excited and proud of you. So that concludes my report. Thank you, President Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had to wait for a second. That was very enthusiastic, Trustee Mackey. I don't know if I can match the enthusiasm. Kudos to Ha Lee and Emmanuel Cooper from Rusk Middle School for taking first place in the middle school essays in the debate competition sponsored by the Dallas Urban Debate Alliance. Also, kudos to East Middle's academic pentathlon participants. Their 7th grade team took 2nd place overall, and their 8th grade took 4th place overall and tied 2nd in the Super Quiz division. And congratulations to Ideas valedictorian Natalia Martinez Sanchez and salutatorian Mildred Oliva Barrios, who both gave wonderful speeches during their virtual graduation ceremony last Saturday. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Trustee. So
you're muted.
Yeah, I'm on mute. Gave me a warning. Thank you, Trustee Solis, and my other colleagues on the board for your updates. I'm now going to give a District 9 report. I want to say kudos to the entire class, all our students, those graduating with honors and scholarships, and those that have overcome tough challenges to get to this point in life. As Trustee Mackey just articulated, we know it's not the senior year that you expected, but you're definitely a class that's going to persevere and enter the world ready for whatever comes for you. So keep your head high and never give up. Particularly, I want to congratulate the graduating seniors of the great James Madison High School, Lincoln High School, Booker T. Washington School of Performing and Visual Arts, Skyline High School, and Norman Randall High School. Once attended by our own Trustee Garcia. I want to give thanks to District 9 schools like J.J. Rose that plan to keep on learning the reading and the Mayor Summer Reading programs. Several schools have already identified students to take part in the program to keep our students reading and growing this summer. As we all know, that's necessary. I definitely want to give a kudos to all instructional team and Chief Elizalde and really all the instructional folks that even touched instruction during this challenging time during the pandemic where we had a lot of at-home learning. That was a challenge both for parents and families and the educators. So I thank everyone for being gracious with each other and persevering and doing the best we can in the circumstances that we have. I saw stuff like John Ireland doing morning announcements. Many of our schools are doing drive-bys to their students and drive-bys for their teachers and teacher appreciation. So just really appreciate everyone's collective focus in a very difficult time. And that concludes my District 9. Sorry, one other thing, definitely want to show some appreciation to Chief Cordova, who found out this week would be retiring from the district for the 2nd time. I believe she's retired before, but she's long served not only the kids in Dallas, but the kids throughout the state. So definitely want to show a high level of appreciation for Chief Cordova for your service to DISD and students, DISD and beyond. So thank you, Chief Cordova, if you're here listening. That the District 9 update. So continue through the board meeting. We're going to start with our public forum. Our agenda now calls for the public forum segment. Mr. Harris, will you please call the speakers?
President Henry, Trustee Foreman joined.
Okay. Accolades for our districts. If you can hear me, go ahead and hop on and do your update.
You've got me muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hold on one second. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak. And I'd like to first start out by telling the seniors throughout the district that I recognize that this was not what you planned for, and it was not what I planned for. Particularly the seniors in my area, I wanted to have an opportunity to hand you your diplomas as I have done in previous years. And I want you to know that whatever you choose in life, you can do. This is one of those setbacks that happens to some of us. And I hope it's been a learning experience for you as an individual, because it's been a learning experience for me as an adult. And I want you to know that I'm with you. Congratulations to Principal Derek Thomas, who will lead Adele Turner Elementary School, one of our leading schools in District 6. And to the T.W. Brown Middle School students who participated in the Texas Academic Pentathlon, Region 5 online competition. You did a good job, and I want you to know that I'm always with you, the 7th graders there. To the 5 District 6 teachers who were among 91 Dallas ISD selected by DonorsChoice.org. Thank you for working with us, and thank you for all that you do. And to these teachers, I'm proud of Shawana Barrett and Latrice London Wright, both of McNair Elementary School, who received Walmart's vouchers. And congratulations to Amelia Blackshear of Atwell Middle School, Emily Hobbs of Marina Elementary, and Dorcas Kasserbaum of McNair Elementary. Thank you for the work, and not just to those teachers, but all teachers throughout Dallas ISD. I'm really proud of the work that you've done, and thank you for doing what you do for our students on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Foreman. I have to backtrack a bit. I apologize. Chief Cordova, I meant to say Chief Durant, so I apologize. Chief Cordova is not going anywhere. I don't want you to go anywhere. I don't want you to think that was some sort of subliminal messaging, but Chief Durant, thank you. There she is. Thank you for your service to DISD. Play my heart and not play my mind and not my heart. So we'll keep on going to the meeting.
Trustee Henry, you ready for our speakers?
You're muted, Trustee Henry.
Thank you. Dino, could we go to the public speakers now? I just muted all the speakers, including myself, as Trustee Johnson just mentioned. So you'll probably have to unmute. I'll unmute you, Dino, and if you might have to unmute whatever speaker's next, but I muted everyone because of that background noise.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Henry. Our first speaker, Dr. Latrice Atkins. Dr. Atkins?
Good evening.
Go ahead and speak.
Okay. Thank you so much for an opportunity to share with the members of the Dallas ISD Board of Trustees. I sent an email about a week ago to Superintendent Dr. Hinojosa, and I copied it to all 9 of the members of the board. And also, I tried to send it to Scott and Pam, but I'm not sure if I was successful. I sent that email because I wanted to protest the idea of waiving local policy mandates, and so I'll speak to that in about 2 or 3 minutes. Most importantly, I wasn't asked or consulted when the board decided to allow Dr. Hinojosa to be able to make executive decisions somewhat unilaterally during the COVID crisis. There was no community meeting, community forum. I didn't get an email. None of the people I know were asked if that's what we wanted our trustees to do. But I'm okay with that, and that's basically what I said in my email because the crisis called for it. Streamlining decision-making made a lot of sense because we didn't have a lot of information about how this virus spread, how to contain it, how to protect our children. It just made sense to invest that kind of authority and power in Dr. Hinojosa. I also expressed in that email how proud I was of the way he navigated all of that uncertainty. Some of the qualities that I pointed out in my email was that I really appreciate his level of competence, his confidence, that he's calm, that he's assertive, and he was decisive in a time when, well, I hear some feedback, in a time, something's going wrong.
Hello?
Hello? Yes, this is Dr. Atkins.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an echo, a terrible echo.
Go ahead, Dr. Atkins. Oh, she's probably on mute. Which one is she? She's going. You muted her. And that's what happens.
This is Justin. Are you working on the speakers? I think she's muted now. I think all the speakers are muted from what I'm looking at.
Dr. Atkins?
Hello? Hello?
Dr. Atkins?
Hello?
Her mic is muted.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Yes. Hello? Okay. You can hear me now? Yes. Okay. Is it my time to speak? Oh, I'm waiting to speak as well.
Is it? Should I turn my phone off?
Speakers, hold on just a moment.
You're on mute, Carly. Could you unmute briefly?
I'm now. But I have to use the house mic.
Can we start with the first speaker? Or go back, however you're managing it?
Okay. Dr. Atkins? Okay, we'll go to the next speaker and come back to Dr. Atkins. Omar Jimenez?
Hello, it's Dr. Atkins. Should I start over?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Start her timer. Go ahead, Dr.
Ms. Atkins, this is Trustee Henry. Go ahead, start.
Do I need to start over?
That's fine. Start over, and I'll start the time until we figure out what's technically going on.
Okay, so can the board members hear me?
You can start where you left off as well.
Okay, can they hear me?
I can hear you, so they can hear you as well.
Okay, wonderful.
Should we turn off our phones?
No, if you're not Ms. Atkins, you should be muted. So I'll mute you, and if you could just stay off until it's your turn to speak. So Ms. Atkins is speaking right now. I'm not sure how the speaker's joining.
So you're going to mute my phone?
Yeah. You don't have to do anything. Just stay on the line. And when it's your opportunity to speak, someone will tell you it's time to speak, and you'll be unmuted, and you'll be able to speak. So not your phone. Just stay on the line.
Oh, stay on.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Atkins.
Okay. And in this email, no worries. And in this email, I complimented the superintendent, and I said that I found Dr. Hinojosa extremely confident and competent and calm. He has the equanimity, the presence of mind to be decisive at a time when there was a lot of uncertainty. And I thought that was so comforting to have a leader to speak to a very unpredictable, uncertain time with such confidence and calm. However, I don't believe that it is necessary for him to continue to have executive rule and act autonomously or have unilateral decisions, because we know enough now about what we're facing. And I believe that the creativity and the synergy and the problem solving and the innovation that you get when you guys work corporately is something that we should be practicing. Following that email, I sent a memo to the board president. He actually is my trustee. I'm in District 9, South Dallas. And in that memo, I explained for three very clear reasons why I'm asking you to please not continue with this idea of waiving local policies and not actively working in the capacity in which we have elected you. The first is that, to my understanding, the voters, the public elect you, our trustees, so you have our confidence. We've entrusted you to make decisions in the best interest of the school children and our families and communities in your respective districts. As your constituents, we've given you our power to use in our best interest. It is my understanding that the board selects the superintendent. And so by relinquishing your responsibilities and abdicating your authority to the person who you all selected, in some ways you are inadvertently silencing our collective voice, and our power is subjugated because you're investing the power and you're passing the buck. And so I'm concerned about continuing that behavior. You're in office because you were chosen, you were elected. That does not mean that Dr. Hinojosa is not deserving of the trust, but I'm saying the public trust was invested in you nine, and please respect that. Secondly, I concur with the essence and the spirit of Trustee Foreman's question that she posed, and it's online, and I'm going to paraphrase, but basically she's asking, so if we are going to waive or move around some sort of policies, which policies are we talking about and for how long? I put it a little more crassly in my memo, and I said, so if we're talking about violating the policies we established so that we can have representative government, are you sure you have a strong enough reason to violate the policies that we have in place so we can have representative government?
I don't know if my mic is coming through. Our next speaker is Omar Jimenez. Omar, go ahead.
Omar? Yes. Yes. Am I up now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, good evening, board. Good evening, Superintendent Hinojosa, President Henry. My name's Omar Jimenez, coming to you live at 1639 Cedar Bluff Lane in Dallas, 75253. Before I go any further, ever since this pandemic, I've been going on 2 or 3 Zoom calls around this time. And so I appreciate the district trying to bring back its access channel on cable. And I was thinking, well, maybe I can catch the board meeting on cable, but it turns out, and it's happened last month too, that I have not been able to hear sound, but I can hear the video for it. So if anybody out there in the communication department hears this, please be sure to look into that going forward so that the public does have an opportunity to watch the board meetings as well as another option. But I am here tonight to talk about the 2020 bond. And there are still concerns that I've had, and there was concerns that I was not able to bring up I mean, simply because at least the good part of it, of having these virtual meetings, is we're having a lot of the citizens come out and ask a lot of questions, which is great, versus an in-person meeting where it seems that nobody doesn't come to those, but more people seem to come to these virtual meetings. But I'm not convinced of how many projects have been done by the 2015 bond. So I definitely would love to know how many of those projects have been completed. And I'm still concerned for the southeastern part of the district because we have been seeing a lot of growth over the last few years, and it will still, hopefully it will still continue with the new subdivisions that are coming into, especially the Sigerville theater pattern. I'm still trying to figure out why the committee decided to build more classrooms, adding on more classrooms to some of our neighborhood schools, where we should be looking at maybe adding on a new middle school or a new high school for the area. But my other concern with that is when we are going into the next semester, you know, how many of our students are actually going to come back? We don't know that. Even with this bond that you're trying to push in November, so that way you have an easy chance to pass it, because you're trying to put this into an emotional electorate that will just go with that. You know, we don't know that. We don't know how much tax revenue is going to come, because will people feel comfortable voting for a bond right now, even though you're going to promote that? I think my time is up. I appreciate the time.
George Rangel. George?
Assistant Superintendent Hinojosa. My name is George Rangel, 334 Center Street, Dallas, Texas, 75208. I'm the Executive Vice President at Alliance AFT. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight. I want to start by thanking the superintendent and the chiefs for taking the lead on prioritizing safety and making tough decisions. I'm sure those decisions are not always the most popular ones, but they're necessary to keep our students and employees safe. Tonight, I'm addressing two issues. One, as you are looking at the budget for 2021, Alliance AFT urges you pass a 5% increase for support staff employees. These employees are the unsung sheroes and heroes who diligently work behind the scenes, cleaning, driving our students to and from the schools, and distributing food for our students and communities. This board and administration will be hypocritical by bragging on the great job everyone is doing in this crisis and then not reward them monetarily for being the backbone of the work. The Dallas citizens are supportive of this, especially with the national recognition Dallas ISD has received from the Food Service Department. Alliance AFT asks the district to increase the salary of the 70 custodians who have not received an increase since 2011. Alliance AFT asks that these custodians receive a $3 an hour increase. These custodians were cut 10% of their salary in 2011 when the district was in a deficit. They are dedicated and gave back when the district was hurting for money. Why would the ISD custodial administration bait and switch these custodians knowing they would not receive an increase for the rest of their career in Dallas ISD? It's only right the district do the right thing for these custodians who are African American and Hispanic men and women. Finally, Alliance AFT asks that Dallas ISD take this seriously, these concerns, and do the right thing by recognizing these unsung sheroes and heroes. Thank you for your time, thank you for your attention, and thank you for your consideration in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Claudia Fowler. Ms. Fowler?
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead and speak.
Yes, good evening. My name is Claudia Fowler. I am a 1979 alumni graduate of Wilma Hutchins High School, a very proud Eagle. I am coming tonight to speak on the changes at the Kennedy Curry Junior High School. We as a community have gotten word that there's going to be a new executive director by the name of Ms. Bronson that's going to be there as our new executive director. And we are totally opposed to that. We as a community remember a few years back when our students did not do well, test scores were not up, and that is up under her reign. And then we get word through the community that she's going to be coming back again. We have spoken with our board member, Max Johnson, about this, and we are quite upset. She does not need to be there because, in our opinion, she does not understand and does not recognize the culture of Wilma Hutchins. So we are, as you know, we as a community that cares about our children, about the miseducation of our children during the years, we totally oppose her being the new executive director for as Wilma Hutchins, for as Kennedy Curry is concerned. Okay, did they hear me? Okay, can you all still hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I can't. Okay, now I hear you. Okay. So, however, that was my concern tonight. And again, we as a community that cares, we have discussed it amongst ourselves, and we just do not think that that would be a good move to have Ms. Bronson back up there as the executive director for as Kennedy Curry is concerned. I am having a hard time hearing. Okay, hello?
We can still hear you.
Okay, all right then. You know, we have to look at the culture of our children, and you know, culture is all about understanding. When you're living with, when you're living with a group of people, when you're working with a group of people, a culture is something that needs to be taught. And at this point in time, I just don't think that she's what we need. And like I said, we all remember a few years back when Kennedy Curry was not doing that well, and then we support Tracy. I think her name is Tracy Washington, who we are supporting for as Kennedy Curry Junior High School is concerned. And we have discussed this with our board member. We have gotten in touch with him, and we're just appalled at so to our understanding, the move has already been made. Why was not the community even brought in on that? It's what one of my questions is.
Angela Crowder has joined us. Ms. Crowder? Ms. Crowder?
Yes, can you hear me?
Go ahead and speak. You have your 3 minutes.
Okay, so I am speaking for 7-year-old African-American Trent Smith, the young black male that is being sued by DISD. For me, it is difficult to believe that the persons who initiated this lawsuit and the persons that are leading this lawsuit just woke up one morning and decided that suing this young black male was best choice for his future. There had to be a predicate of contempt for this young black male and his mother, and the persons had to be able to build that level of contempt. There also has to be a culture of contempt for Black lives in DISD for this lawsuit to continue. This is a 7-year-old black male that DISD is suing. And now, based on what DISD decided, you want the family to pay for this lawsuit. I've heard some of you all speak. You've talked about good look. How could this possibly be a good look for DISD? You talked about equitable choices. How is this helping the financial status of DISD? You know, smooth answers. I heard 12 hours of smooth answers, rephrasings of statements, just flat out lies. You know, I've heard you guys, cheer on, everything we're trying to do during this pandemic. But this lawsuit continues to go on as we deal with this pandemic. None of us have the time to be sitting here asking you why again. We all have other things to do. We're all trying to function. But DISD has decided that we're going to continue with this lawsuit and we're going to ask for more as we go through all this. So I need all of you all to look. You may not be the one who initiated this lawsuit, but are you truly an innocent bystander? If you have the power to do something, then you need to do it. If not, you are just as guilty. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Bernadette Brewer.
Greetings all. Again, my name is Bernadette Brewer. I am in District 5 under the great Maxie Johnson. I am going to ditto what Ms. Claudia Fowler said, but I'm going to go a little bit further. It's been like 6 or 7 months since Ms. Franson was replaced with Tracy Johnson. And as I understand, the numbers are starting to come up. So why would you bring her back? Is that so that she can get the credit? I don't agree with this move, mainly because she was pulled out of there, but she was left at the high school because the high school numbers were fine. But you removed her from the elementary school and the middle school because those numbers were low. Now that Ms. Washington has brought those numbers up, you're going to give her back, Candy Curry? What you're doing is putting a poodle in a pit bull pit. She does not need that area. First of all, she can't even control what's going on at Wilmer Hutchins. Yeah, their scores are up, but I've seen her there on campus when students just walk out of class before the bell's even rung for the end of the day. So I know she cannot handle KC. Now, I am a 1980 graduate of Wilmer Hutchins High School, and I'm also the president of the alumni. I do not agree. I am in those schools every day because I am a working, hard-working person who not only did I graduate, but my children and so did 100 other of my family members. That move I do not agree with. And so I ask that you reconsider that move and put her back where she was. That's not where she needs to be. We don't need her there. We need Ms. Washington there because she's a bulldog. You don't put a poodle in a bulldog pit. I'm sorry. I respect who she is, but I do not respect the move that you guys have made, and I hope that you guys can do something to flip this back. And on another note, I want to congratulate all of our seniors of Wilmer Hutchins High School. And what our alumni did was we adopted each and every one of our seniors. We gifted them. We gave them something to look forward to when they're looking at such a dim a start of life. So I end on that note, and I'm just asking you to reconsider that move. We're putting Ms. Franson over there and put Ms. Tracy Washington back in that position. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker, Linda Barrett. Ms. Barrett?
Yes, thank you so much for letting me be able to speak. My name is Linda Barrett. I'm a CDL driver at Longview Service Center, and I'm also a representative for Alliance 2260. Once again, thank you for letting me be able to speak in behalf of the Transportation Department. I am a CDL driver, and I'm also a trainer. We are asking for a 5% raise across the board for all of us. That includes CDL drivers, standby drivers, which I'm one, and the monitors. Now, we thank you for what you have done for the CDL drivers and the MPV drivers, but for some reason, our veteran monitors, they didn't get a raise. And our veteran monitors, I would like to say they are some of the most qualified monitors that we have, well-trained monitors that we have had in all across. And for some reason, they didn't get a raise. And I kind of find that to be unfair. But speaking in a whole, our jobs are very valuable. Our jobs are very valuable in the transportation. And for the last few months before this pandemic, we all have been able to pull up our scraps in the boots to try to come together and pull everything together. Now, we are the same drivers that work in the AM, the midday, and evening. We are also the same drivers that do trips. We are the same drivers that help out the dispatchers. We are the same drivers that do help out in the office. We are the same drivers. And we also have some of the children especially in the elementary and the middle schools, they have gotten to be a little bit more combative. And so, it has made our jobs a little bit more difficult, but we do it. We have to do it. And we try to do our very best. And I'm one of the drivers that I had a busload of kids that bought a whole bunch of vegetables on the bus and threw tomatoes and onions all across the bus. But we have to do it. That's our job. And so the thing is that seeing our job descriptions on paper is nothing compared to actually doing it in the field. It's nothing compared. We are the same drivers. We don't have a different crew that comes in and do trips. We don't have a different crew that works on weekends. We are the same drivers. And the standby drivers, they fill in for 30 absent drivers. 30 absent drivers. The monitors, they are monitors that can control.
Esther Robinson.
Okay, I'm finished. Did you say that was my time was up?
Yes, ma'am. Esther Robinson.
My phone.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes?
Go ahead and speak. You have 3 minutes.
Fine. Hello, my name is Easter Robinson. And again, I'm trying to get the school board members to understand the issue and to drop this lawsuit against Trent Smith, who is a 7-year-old. I was employed by DISD for 44 years as a teacher, and then I worked in the special ed department as a diagnostician testing kids. I am so disappointed in the way the superintendent, Hinojosa, and the other board members are supporting the continuing lawsuit against Trent Smith. I understand DISD lawyers informed you that DISD had to file against little Trent. But if one of you actually read the law, it says that the district may or may not file. If a parent refuses an autism or an emotional disturbance evaluation, he or she has that right. Read our procedural safeguards. When I was a DIAG, I was obligated by law to give and explain to every parent who signed a consent for testing. This took place in every consent meeting. And does everybody know that Trent is flourishing in his new school and his current teachers report no characteristics of autism or emotional disturbance? On 2 separate hearings, TEA, our governing body, has ruled in favor of Trent, not DISD. Yet, DISD lawyers are still pursuing this all the way to federal court. This is a waste of our hard-earned retirement money because Trent is no longer a student in DISD. The news said hundreds of DIS students dropped off the radar during this shelter in place. This is a fault. Locate and take care of DISD students, not Trent, who is out of DISD. Please go back and read. DISD has several options, and one option is to drop the lawsuit and leave this family alone.
Thank you. Your
Thank you
time
very
has
much.
expired. Our next speaker, April Green. Ms. Green?
Hello, this is April Green.
Go ahead. You have 3 minutes to speak.
I am a Dallas County resident, a Dallas County taxpayer, a former Dallas ISD employee, and a parent of a 2020 Dallas graduate. I am speaking on behalf of Trent Smith, a 7-year-old who is being sued by Dallas ISD in retaliation for a TEA complaint filed by his parents. Although TEA ruled in favor of the Smith family 2 times, Dallas ISD continues to pursue this senseless and costly litigation, spending over $100,000 so far of the taxpayers' money. $100,000 that could be used for distance learning, teachers' pay, rebuilding schools ravaged by the tornadoes, support staff, bus drivers, school nurses, or feeding hungry children who are home now instead of in school. I'm here for the 3rd time to ask you to stop wasting taxpayer money suing a 7-year-old child. Stop using litigation to intimidate and threaten parents. You know that our families do not have the money to fight against you, so you are taking advantage of all Dallas ISD parents who are poor, black, or brown whenever they ask you to help their children. Instead of helping their children, you sue them. Stop this litigation because you are wrong. TEA twice said that you were wrong. The Office of Special Education, OSEP, also would say this is wrong. Your own school district policies indicate that this litigation is wrong. Stop, because the Smiths have a right to determine what is best for their child. Stop, because DISD already has forced poor Trent out of his school district, a school that he was attending with his brother and sister. Stop, because he is flourishing and doing well in his new school. Stop, because you're supposed to work collaboratively with parents for their children, not work against parents, not work against children, and not work against the law. Your continued litigation against 7-year-old Trent Smith sends a clear message to all parents of DISD students, especially those with kids who have special needs. We do not value your input, parents. We do not cherish your children. Dallas ISD needs to learn how to negotiate instead of litigating, how to support instead of suing, and how to care instead of crushing our futures, the futures of our children. Stop this lawsuit now. I will be voting no to your bond on the bond that's upcoming because you're showing that you waste money, and you will not waste our taxpayer money on suing kids and their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Kevin Jackson.
Good evening.
Mr. Jackson, go ahead. You have 3
Okay. 1 Corinthians. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Trent Smith is a child. And what are we showing him by holding him to a decision that was already made twice? Data shows that our first experience is life, and life is from watching our parents and those they socialize with. What Trent's learning from his parents is to stand and hold the course. That also shows that Trent is improving in his new school district. But where is the data that shows that DISD has the right to take that privilege away from his parents and disrespect it? What Trent needs is the support of his family, which he has. What he also needed was the support of his school community to work with him and show them the respect of their decisions. What followed was others taking matters into their own hands and ignoring parental requests. What is Trent learning by this? Can someone answer that question? In this COVID-19 has shown us anything in life, that life is short and death is short. DISD has many other concerns other than this. And I'm asking you to drop this frivolous lawsuit at this time and respect his parents and respect this young boy, and most importantly, respect your taxpayers' money. The definition of insanity, as said by Einstein, is doing the the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. If the results came in twice that sided with transparency, let this go. Put feelings aside, put taxpayers' money aside, and please allow your district to flourish as other districts have to right now in this time of this COVID-19. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeanette Bowie? Ms. Bowie? Ms. Bowie?
Hello?
Go
Yes.
ahead. You have 3
Can you
minutes
hear
to
me?
speak. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Jeanette Bowie. I am an employee with Dallas ISD. I am speaking on behalf of Trent Smith. I have been disappointed by the way the district has retaliated against this family. To drag one of your most dedicated, valued employee in a frivolous lawsuit is disheartening. This district has attacked her child, her family, and her career. As a teacher in Dallas ISD, I have been in many ARD meetings where parents question the validity of the special education evaluation. I have watched students wait for months and months to be evaluated so that they could receive much needed special education services. Why is this district so focused on suing this family instead of helping the children in this district? Why is this school board allowing this attorney to make hundreds of thousands of dollars to lose cases? Is there anyone ethical enough to speak up for what is right? Dallas ISD, you are wrong. You are not good stewards of the taxpayers' money, and I happen to be one of those as well. Dallas ISD, I am requesting that you put a stop to this. Will push the family. If not, this will push the family into losing their home or bankruptcy. Is that what you want for one of your valued employees? When will this stop? Trent has a team behind him, and we will not stop until Dallas ISD has righted their wrongs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Jason Jackson. Mr. Jackson?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon. Good evening, board. My name is Jason Jackson, and I'm here to speak on behalf of DISD versus Trent Smith. Trent is a beautiful, intelligent, and courageous 7-year-old child who, as you've already heard, is being sued along with his parents by DISD. Why? Because they want the right to test children without parental consent. To me, that sounds like control, and to me, as opposed to collaboration, which needs to be our approach with our parents as well. Let us not forget that as we're talking about this time of COVID-19, that not only are parents essential workers, but they're also essential partners. You see, it says in our law that parents are expected to sign parental consent only when in agreement with the school's recommendation. If they decide not to have their child evaluated, the school district can disagree with their decision, but the school district also has due process rights, and the school can use its right to get permission for the evaluation from the Texas Education Agency. However, as you've heard several times before this evening, TEA has already sided with the family on 2 different occasions. Yet and still, this lawsuit continues to move forward. We often ask ourselves, what is school going to look like post-COVID-19? How do we revert back to a new sense of normal? Well, I will say that there are far too many current realities of inequity, cultural irrelevance, cultural irresponsiveness, cultural incompetency, student individually obscurity, disconnectedness, the soft bigotry of low expectations, unconsciousness, implicit and explicit bias and segregation towards students, not to mention actions and unwarranted special education identification. And so my charge as an advocate for all children, I challenge you, the board of directors, to a call for action to stop this litigation from moving forward. Why? There are 3 simple reasons. 1, As you've heard before, we're wasting taxpayers' money in unnecessary litigation. 2, Trent is doing well in a non-district academic environment and has satisfactorily advanced to the 3rd grade. And finally, why don't we stand together and send a message to parents of our community that we value your partnership in educating your child? The main function of you as the board, as you well know, is to provide local citizen governments and oversight of education, though ultimately the responsibility for education rests with the state. We've elected you trustees to govern the school district and make decisions and use resources with fiduciary responsibility by doing what's in the best interest of the child.
Our next speaker, Jackie Jesse.
My name is Jackie Jesse. I'm a retired educational diagnostician speaking on behalf of 7-year-old Trent Smith, who is being sued by Dallas ISD. Tonight, I would like to inform Dr. Hinojosa, the Dallas ISD School Board, and the Special Education Department about the dispute regulations established by the U.S. Department of Education. It appears Dallas ISD has been misinformed by its legal team. Please refer to the documents I have submitted. Document 1, labeled IDEA Part B Regulations. It addresses the dispute resolution procedures sent to the state directors of special education by the U.S. Department of Education. Page 40 of this document contains question C11, which states, under what circumstances may a public agency use IDEA's due process procedures to override a parent's refusal to consent? The federal government says a public agency may, but is not required to, override a parent's refusal to consent in order to pursue an initial evaluation of a student enrolled in public schools, if appropriate. What made Trent Smith's case appropriate? Did your legal team advise you to file a lawsuit in federal appeal against a 7-year-old child? If so, your legal advisors made an error and are costing the district thousands of dollars each month. In document 2, labeled U.S. Department of Education, this is a letter from the Office of Special Education Programs within the U.S. Department of Education about the misuse of the due process system by public schools. It states, public agencies that seek to force parents who have exercised their right to file a state complaint into a potentially more adversarial due process hearing harm the cooperative process that should be the goal of all stakeholders and is contrary to congressional intent. We strongly encourage public agencies to respect parents' choice to use the state complaint process rather than a due process. Did your legal team advise you about the federal government's view of due process as a form of retaliation against a parent? The federal government suggests that districts use the complaint process to work with families rather than sue families, and in this case, sue 7-year-old Trent Smith. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Donna Bolton. Ms. Bolton?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Donna Bolton, and I'm speaking on behalf of 7-year-old Trent Smith, who's being sued by Dallas ISD. The Dallas ISD employees who initiated this lawsuit would have you think that they care about Trent and that the only way to help him is by conducting a full and complete evaluation. In fact, they care so much about him that they are willing to bankrupt his parents to prove it. The reality is that this case is not really about Trent. Trent is just a scapegoat or a pawn. Dallas ISD is trying to set a precedent to be able to overlook and ignore parents' rights. They want to be able to do as they wish, whether the parent agrees or not. I can just imagine a conversation between 2 Dallas ISD employees. I'll call them Ann and Kay. Ann says, I want to test this child for something else. Kate says, but you don't have any data or documentation to show why you suspect that. But Ann says, no problem, we'll just make something up. Kay responds, but no one else has noticed any concern. Ann, by this time, has gotten cocky, and so she says, I don't care what his other teachers, his pediatrician, or his parents think. We're the professionals. Kay timidly says, what if the parents don't give consent? To which Ann replies, well, we'll just have to sue them, just like we did Trent Smith. Why does Dallas continue to fight this case when Trent is no longer a student in Dallas? Well, maybe it's because the other reason for this lawsuit is retaliation against the mom. She's a Dallas ISD employee and has the audacity to file a TEA complaint against Dallas. But what Dallas fails to realize is that her job as a mother is the most important job that she'll ever have. You use our tax dollars to attack parents and hurt those same students you claim to care for. You continue to pay a lawyer thousands of dollars to sue this family, and she gets paid regardless whether she wins or she loses. You may want to rethink some of her advice. Anyway, because of this frivolous lawsuit and that tacky graduation for the 2020 seniors, I will be voting no to the bond election, and I will encourage all my friends and family to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Joyce Jackson. Ms. Jackson?
Good evening. My name is Joyce Jackson, and I reside in District 6. I am coming before you again on behalf of Trent Smith. Trent is a 7-year-old African-American boy who is a former Dealey Montessori student. DISD is currently suing Trent despite TEA ruling in his favor 2 times. The district is suing him because they insisted on performing an autism evaluation even though they performed previous testing finding that he had dyslexia, a learning disability, and ADHD. All were enough to begin services, but DISD took an all-or-nothing approach based on one school psychologist's playground observation. The district's insistence on performing the autism evaluation and the after-the-fact suspicion of an emotional disturbance was, of course, resisted by his parents. This resistance has resulted in an ongoing legal attack on his parents, who happen to be district employees. It is clear to me that the special education department and the contracted attorney are fighting so hard to push the autism and ED evals to set legal precedent and not working in Trent's best interest. Best interest would have been to begin dyslexia, occupational therapy, and inclusion services right away. As we know, we are in unprecedented times of education colliding with COVID-19, and DISD is being faced with many difficult challenges and decisions. Special education will confront an even higher level of challenges as parents are rallying together as we speak to file against you for compensation for lost services. Hopefully, you will hold the special education department accountable and ensure that they shift their focus to making solid plans for service delivery, honest communication, and reassuring parents. We will continue to come before you to insist that this legal attack on this family stop. Just because the special education department has a budget for legal costs does not mean that they have to continue to use it and waste it. Instead, they should be making every effort to work in earnest with Trent's parents. Finally, I ask that you take your legal knee off of the necks of the Smith family. They can't breathe. Thank you.
Our final speaker, Justin Bolton. Mr. Bolton?
Yes, this is he.
Go ahead. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, school board. This is Justin T. Bolton of Dallas, Texas, 75219. And I just wanted to bestow a little food for thought and even a few words of motivation to you. Your silence and lack of action towards the ongoing taxpayer dollar-backed lawsuit initiated by DISD towards my nephew Trent Smith and his educator parents leads me to believe that the school board is nothing more than a panel of crooks, cowards, and con artists. I ask you, school board members, why exactly did you enter the educational arena, and what do you truly seek to give and gain from it? If it isn't to selflessly dedicate your time and energy to positively supporting the personal and educational growth and well-being of the students, teachers, parents, and all those that make up the district's landscape, then I'd highly suggest you book a one-way ticket to hell, because you're in the wrong place, doing the wrong things for the wrong reasons. If you do not associate and align yourself as a crook, a coward, or a con artist, I'd highly suggest you catch up, stand up, speak up, and act up, because we are all fed up. Let me tell you, we are not going anywhere, and we will continue to fight for what is right with or without you. I will say that one more time in case you have technical difficulties. We are not going anywhere, and we will continue to fight for what is right with or without you. If you won't fulfill your oath and commitment to the district and do right by those that contribute to its well-being, we will social distance you from the school board and help flatten the curve on your sitting terms. Thank you so much for your time this evening, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you. This concludes our speakers.
Thank you, Dino. We're going to continue through the agenda, beginning with the approval of minutes, starting with agenda item 5.01, consider and take possible action to approve the minutes submitted for approval. The following minutes have been submitted for approval. Board meeting April 23rd, 2020, and that is it. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Trustee Flores has made the next motion. Trustee Mackey has seconded the motion. Trustees, are there any corrections? There are no corrections. Please cast your votes. We're going to begin with Trustee Flores in District 1 and go through until District 9. Trustee Flores.
District 1 votes yes.
District 2 votes yes.
District 3 votes yes.
Garcia, yes.
Trustee Johnson. Trustee Foreman.
District 6 votes yes.
Thank you.
District 7 votes yes.
Trustee Solis votes yes.
District 9, Trustee Henry votes yes.
The motion passes 8-0.
Thank you, trustees. You've just adopted the motion approving the minutes as submitted. Trustees are now on statutory items. The first item is 6.01 to approve the board resolution purchasing during emergency extension. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved by Trustee Flores and seconded by Trustee Solis. Trustees, is there discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Foreman, go ahead. You have the floor.
So I have some real concerns about giving the district, the superintendent, the ability to actually purchase for COVID-19 without coming to the board. We did a resolution about 2 or 3 months ago where the superintendent promised that he would update us on his expenditures, and that did not happen. COVID-19 expenditures could span from a list of things. It could be technology, it could be training, it could be a whole number of things. And I am concerned as an elected trustee to make sure that we are spending adequately. And on the same note, when I look at this, it has no limited time period. So the superintendent could use this resolution to go on into the next school year, and all of the purchases could be contributed to COVID-19. So I, for one, as an elected trustee who is supposed to be responsible fiduciarily for the district, will not be voting for this particular resolution.
Thank you, Trustee Foreman. Trustee Mackey. Again, trustees, it's best if you do the blue hand within the Zoom application. If not, try to wave me down. I'll try to make sure I see everyone. But Trustee Mackey, thank you.
Thank you, President Henry. Just a couple notes and a couple quick questions. So first of all, I appreciate the administration taking a lot of feedback on this one. I noticed a bunch of changes from when y'all brought it at the briefing this month, and you took into account a lot of the feedback that was there. So first of all, the way I'm reading it, I want to make sure I do see an end date here that you all put. Administration, is there an end date for this purchasing resolution?
Yes, there is.
It's September 1.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. I know that was a question that came up at the briefing. I know myself and other colleagues had that concern. So I appreciate you all putting that on there very explicitly, because there will obviously come up times in which you all need to make direct purchases. I also noticed changes to the language around what this is used for, and I appreciate that it has specifically talked to only the extent necessary and things that directly respond to COVID. I appreciate this. I think this gives you the flexibility that you need, and doesn't allow it to be just anything, but is specifically for pieces around COVID. So I just want to say I appreciate your work and your effort into making this and taking into account our feedback. And I look forward to supporting this under that. So thank you.
Trustee Mitch K.
Thank you. I also want to express my appreciation for the changes that were made that Trustee Mackey outlined. I was one of the trustees who was concerned about the resolution being too broad, the proposed draft too broad, and without a time limit on it. So I thank you for making those changes, and I'll be supporting this. Thanks.
Trustee Johnson.
Is there any way they can put the changes on the screen? Because I have my binder, I have the old changes, and I was trying to find it in my email, and I'm unable to find it.
Chief Lear or Dino, is it possible to put the changes on the screen?
Dino, do you have access to the red line?
Yes. Trustee Johnson, can I, as they look for that, can I hop in real quick? Do you mind?
Sure, no problem.
So I'm going to echo some of my colleagues' sentiment. I did not like this resolution as it was initially drafted. Didn't intend on supporting it as it was initially drafted. I didn't like, as Trustee Foreman was mentioning, that it didn't have a hard end date that could continue indefinitely. I also didn't like the broad language that was included in it. It was just far too broad for me. So I appreciate the administration hearing what the trustees were saying in regards to our concerns. As they pull up the red line, some of the stuff that I know has changed is there's a hard end date for September 1st, 2020. So that basically around the time school starts in the fall, this resolution would end on its own. There's language in there in the first resolution that says the board suspends its normal purchasing policies, and this is the new language, only to the extent necessary. to authorize the superintendent or designee to make emergency procurements. And then there's additional language again where it says wherein time is of the essence to respond to issues directly caused by COVID. So that's all new. Wherein time is of the essence, meaning something that's urgent. If it's not urgent, it can wait till the next board meeting. That's my understanding of why that language is there. And then to issues directly caused, meaning it can't be something that was caused or related or connected to COVID. It has to be an issue that was directly caused by COVID-19. And then another additional language, why I guess Dino works on the red line, is, and only to the extent necessary to address specific needs. So not only are the policies only suspended, only to the extent necessary, we're only providing the superintendent the ability to make procurements to the extent necessary to address whatever specific need is related to that COVID-19 issue. So wasn't going to support it before, do like the language now restricting both what we're waiving and both what can be procured and the timing around all that. And I'm hoping we can get that up for Trustee Johnson.
Can someone send it to my email? I would like to. I'm looking at my old one, and I would just like to see the new changes so I can. I want to vote on. I want to vote. What I see right here, I cannot vote. So I want to see what you guys are saying. If that's okay, Trustee Henry.
Say it again.
Right, the way it was written is what I see right now. Is what I have.
I don't know what you're looking at. If you're looking at your printout,
yes,
is it something?
I'm looking at my hard copy.
If it doesn't say stuff like until September 1st, 2020, or it doesn't say it's normal purchasing policies only to the extent necessary, then it's the old language.
Okay, can they just put the new language up for me, or can they send it to my email before we vote, please?
Trustee Johnson, we'll pull it up and email it to you right quick.
Thank you.
While we wait for that, are there any other comments or?
Trustee Henry, are we moving to the next item?
I have it, Trustee Henry. I just read it. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. No, we were waiting on Trustee Johnson to get the new language, Chief Lear.
I do have the new language. Thank you, and I'm reading it as of right now. The language that I had says it suspends its normal purchasing. I think this one says only until September 21st, 2020. Correct?
Correct.
I guess my question is, what purchases will we be allowing to happen until September 2020?
Dwayne, can you provide Trustee Johnson a few items that will need to be purchased?
All the items, if we can.
Well, I don't know that we can do all, but he does have some.
Yeah. So as we progress and we find out more about what limitations are going to be required for school opening, We have the potential of PPE for the students and teachers and staff. We have the need potentially for additional directional signage to direct students and staff safely through the building, to limit, to have distancing. We may need online curriculum and classes, obviously materials and supplies. There's plexiglass. There's all kinds of variety of things. And as more information is available of what we're going to be allowed to do, or maybe in the case of required to do as far as return to school next year, then we will address what we need to purchase to make that happen. And what I provided was just a list of some samples of items that we potentially could have to purchase.
Thank you. I have nothing else to say, Trustee. I do agree with Trustee Foreman, but I see the changes that's been made. But thank you.
Trustees, is there any additional discussion? Okay, trustees, will you please cast your votes, starting with Trustee Flores?
Flores votes yes.
Mitch K votes yes.
Garcia votes yes.
Trustee Johnson?
I'm going to go ahead and vote yes on this one.
Foreman votes no.
Mackey, yes.
Solis, yes.
Trustee Henry, yes.
The motion passes 7 voting yes and 1 voting no.
Trustees, you just adopted the motion approving the resolution of the Board of Trustees of DISD waiving local policy mandates. I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Trustees, you just adopted the motion approving the Board resolution purchasing during emergency extended. Can y'all hear that noise, or is that just me?
I thought Trustee Marshall was trying to speak.
Oh, that's what the noise is.
Trouble.
Yeah, I don't think we can hear him. It's not coming through.
I mean, it could be that he's having a hard time because he has an iPhone X. For what it's worth, that's That's an older version.
What you trying to say, Trustee Solis?
Okay, we're gonna keep going. So we're moving on. I'm sorry. We just adopted the motion approving the Board resolution purchasing during emergency extended. Moving on to 6.02, approve the resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Dallas Independent School District waiving local policy mandates not associated with state or federal mandates. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion was made by Trustee Flores. Who seconded? Was that Trustee Solis or Mackey? I didn't hear. Someone give me a thumbs up.
I think it was Trustee Mackey.
Okay, seconded by Trustee Mackey. Trustees, is there a discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Foreman, you have the floor.
Thank you. And I don't know who could answer this, but the first whereas is the one that concerns me. The others I'm pretty comfortable with. But the local district non-state federally mandated reporting requirements from district administration to the board shall be reported by board update only. Is that what we're saying?
Trustee Foreman, I'm sorry. Can you ask that question one more time?
So if you read the first bullet,
Uh-huh.
I'm asking which of those reports, and is that by board update only? And which reports are we talking about?
Correct. This resolution actually came forward in April. And we also had a few other, we had EIC and EIA in here, and we had it end at the end of the school year. What we learned or what we found is that we have other policies that are pretty important. Most of them fall under HCM that we needed to keep through the summer. I think we have an August 31st date on here. So Dr. Wilson is on the line and she can give you more information regarding those policies.
So Pam, Dr. Wilson, I'm going to give it back to Pam. I'm not concerned about the HCM policies. It's actually the first bullet, which talks about the reporting to the board.
Okay.
So Trustee Foreman, if I could just interject for a moment. Policy DLB requires us to report to the board all of the ways we are making efforts to reduce paperwork for teachers and in the classroom and across campuses. We would not be able to report that because we would prefer to report that in the board update because we don't anticipate that we'll have a lot of things to report as it relates to reduction of paperwork.
Okay.
That's policy DLB.
Okay, and is there a possibility to list the policy DLB for the first bullet? Because that policy number is not on here.
I'm happy to list that policy, but I wouldn't want to limit it. I would, if it would be possible for us to list all of the D policies because some of them have reporting requirements and some of them don't, and I would not want to have to come back to the board for an additional request of this nature.
So there would be additional D policies that would have some implication on the reporting mandate?
So in looking at them, we have policies DL, which speaks to duty hours before and after regularly scheduled school hours. DN and DNA and DNB speaks to appraisals, which we have waived the appraisals, and we often report to the board during board meetings about TEI scores and appraisals and that type things of that nature. We have DK, which regulates the work calendar, the alternative work schedule that we have now, and also the one that we're implementing through July. That would be something we regularly report to the board. So those are the three that specifically have reporting requirements. I know Robert is on as well. He may have other items to interject.
Hi, Robert.
One of the big ones also is, as mentioned earlier, is the central staff evaluations. The initial waiver was through August. The central staff appraisal calendars run through that September timeline. So that would also come into play as far as that reporting capability as well. If we didn't have this waiver, then technically when you got back August 1st, you would still have 30 days to do all central staff evaluations.
Thank you.
Is that it, Trustee Foreman?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Are there any trustees with questions or comments? Okay, thank you, trustees. Go ahead and cast your votes, please. Agenda item 6.02. Can you message me privately if this is getting any better, my sound? Thank you.
Flores votes yes.
Marshall, yes.
Trustee Mitchell?
I vote yes.
Garcia, yes.
Trustee Johnson? Trustee Foreman?
Foreman, yes.
Sorry, I was trying to. I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute it. Trustee Johnson, yes.
Solis, yes.
Trustee Henry, yes.
And Trustee Mackey was yes.
Yes.
The motion passes 9-0.
Thank you, trustees. You've just adopted the motion approving the resolution of the Board of Trustees of DISD waiving local policy mandates not associated with state or federal mandates. We're now moving on to agenda item 6.03, approve the resolution regarding CPR instruction waivers and general delegation of superintendent for COVID-19 related waivers. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Who did the second? I apologize.
Trustee Miguel.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Flores made the motion. It was seconded by Trustee Solis. Trustees, are there any discussion? Before we begin discussion, I want to start with Trustee Johnson, if he's fine with that, to provide him with an opportunity to move his time submitted amendment. The amendment was distributed to each of you earlier today. After the motion is presented, it will need a second if he makes one.
Yeah, I can talk now, Trustee Henry.
Yeah, you can present your amendment.
Okay, I move to strike paragraphs 5 and 6 of the resolution. In be it resolved, section 5 delegates the superintendent of schools authority to pursue any other necessary and available COVID-19 related waivers from TEA commissioner from requirements of the law. In the Texas Code and or the Texas Administrative Code without further action by the board. In the event of the COVID-19 related waivers are needed, delegates the superintendent of schools authority to pursue other COVID-19 related waivers requests in accordance with guidance from national, state, or local authorities or agencies without further action by the board. 6 says grants decisions making authority to the superintendent of schools to address COVID-19 related waivers in an efficient and expeditious manner in keeping with the district's goal and objectives. Looking at this, I looked at the, as I'm looking at it now, so if I kind of take my eye off the screen, I'm reading it. I do understand with the decisions with the CPR instructions waiver, I do see that, but 5 and 6 to give the superintendent my decision.
Trustee Johnson, sorry to interrupt you. If you want to present your motion, go ahead. Keep going. I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, yeah, I want to make sure I'm doing it right. I'm sorry.
Did you make a motion already? I might have missed it. I'm sorry.
I thought it was done, but I'll make a motion to accept my amendment.
Okay, and then go ahead and discuss.
You need a second to open the floor.
I second.
So the motion is made by Trustee Johnson and seconded by Trustee Foreman for Trustee Johnson's amendment to the resolution. Go ahead, Trustee Johnson, you have the floor to discuss.
I do understand the CPR. I do understand that. At the board briefing, I asked how long does it take for TEA waivers be approved waivers, and I think Cecilia said 60 minutes or an hour or so. So I do understand that, but there may be some waivers that I want to see, and I want this board to see that we can discuss. It is very important for us to make that decision as a board and not give our authority away to the superintendent. And this is really not about just the superintendent. The TEA commissioner may place something on with the waiver that I would want to discuss. And so the community in District 5 elected me to be trustee. They elected us to be trustees. And so I would like to keep that power within this board. I think that we're intelligent and that we do have enough time to make this decision. And I do understand the importance of the CPR. I think 5 and 6, and therefore I'm asking my colleagues, will they support this agenda and this amendment, striking out 5 and 6?
Thank you, Trustee Johnson. Any other comments? Trustee Marshall.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful for the administration to talk through some of the examples of what the other waivers are that are on the list of TEA waivers, because I think that it's clear from the comments on this item and a couple previous items, both today and at the board briefing, that many board members are interested in limiting as much as possible the discretionary power of the superintendent, even during this crisis, without bringing something to the board for a vote. And the language in the original resolution for items 5 and 6 that Trustee Johnson is striking in his amendment sounds pretty broad, and so I think folks are likely to read that language and have some concerns about it, which I think is what Trustee Johnson is articulating. But after reviewing the list of waivers on the TEA website, to me, the items on the website that fall into this category for this particular resolution are all extreme administrative minutia. They are not broad sweeping discretionary powers that would be granted to the administration. And I think the CPR one is a good example. I mean, this is the waiver here grants the superintendent the opportunity to accept the waiver from TEA's requirement that all 7th through 12th graders must receive CPR class at least once before they graduate. Like, that is something that is actually more aggressive than most of the waivers that are on this TEA list. Most of them are very much administrative issues in the weeds. So I'm hoping someone from the administration can perhaps give us, 3, 4, 5 examples of what other types of waivers would be included in the broader context of this resolution if we were not to accept Trustee Johnson's amendment.
Thank you, Trustee Marshall. I'm going to have Dr. Durant, if she could pull up the website. We had 3 new waivers that came forward today, and if it weren't in the regular board cycle meeting, there's no way we could ever get them to you. So, Dr. Durant, will you pull up that page? I think we're trying to get it on so the board members can see the TEA website, and if you'll just go through some of the ones that you mentioned to us, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Dr. Durant. She monitors that on a daily basis.
Right, we did, and just as Dr. Hinojosa said, just today, the parent notice requirements for students at risk of failure, that was added today. So every day we get a new item placed on this. This is what we call just procedural rules, and as Trustee Marshall just stated, this is minutia that we have to worry about. So first of all, we looked at the very top. You have attestations that we have to make sure that we put in for their attendance, and that's the primary reason why Chief Elizalde is right on there on a daily basis. We brought you the educator principal appraisal. We brought that to you, and then boom, the next thing that happened is the CPR came up. Now the next one is the inventory requirement. So that means that we have to go back and do the whole inventory count. The next one would be the what as we call the ASVAB. We realized, Carter forgot to give it in the fall because they were planning on giving it in the spring, and of course we need to get a waiver for that. So these are each one of these are really items that are procedural rules that we're expected to follow, but they need immediate attention. So basically what the commissioner has asked us to do is ask our board to give our superintendent that latitude, and whatever chief this belongs to, we then have to walk it through our chief of staff, and Dr. Oakley makes sure that everything is in place, legal makes sure that everything is in place. Then we bring it back to you so that we can then ratify it. So we give you notice. We'll give you notice of when this was submitted. We'll give you notice of what exactly had to be changed. And number 3, absolutely, we'll bring it back for ratification.
Thank you. I think that's helpful just to understand that these are not broad sweeping waivers. So I guess my last question, just keying in on something you said, Chief Durant, you said that the TEA had asked school boards, or superintendents, I should say, to bring a similar item like this to other school boards in preparation for them to have the ability to accept the waiver. So are you suggesting that the TEA told all 1,100 superintendents in the state to ask for permission for this item?
Yes, sir. I also included it in one of the trustee trackers so that the trustees would be able to see that this was not something that we just thought of out of thin air. And part of the problem with that is that, as Dr. Hinojosa has said here recently and often, is that we don't know what we don't know. Every time we meet with our commissioner, he brings up something new. So that would mean that we would have to scramble and just look at the one we're bringing today, CPR. That's already accomplished because we brought it to you and we haven't even sent in for a waiver, and our students have already graduated. So technically, we're in violation of that. So by allowing our superintendent that latitude, we would have been already conforming with the law.
So the 1,100 school districts that were directed by the commissioner to seek such a similar resolution as this to grant them the ability to accept waivers, are we aware of any of the 1,100 school districts in Texas that have refused the superintendent the right to do this?
No, I don't have any of that data. I just know of the ones in our community in the newspaper during the initial COVID-19 closures. Many of them reported that they had met with their board and the board had allowed the superintendent this latitude.
Okay, great. Well, I'll be voting against the amendment and voting for the original resolution. And I'd encourage my colleagues to do the same. I recognize that we are elected representatives of our district and that we're on the hook ultimately for decisions that are made. But we also need to take note of the fact that a 9-member board that meets once a month and has policies that require something on the agenda 2 months in advance, and an agenda posted 5 weeks in advance, and public meeting posted 3 days in advance. That is not the appropriate governance structure to make decisions in an emergency situation. You need, much like we do at the state level and at the federal level, that's where you need the quote-unquote executive branch, or in our case, a single CEO or leader of an organization to have the latitude to make changes on the fly. So I'd encourage my colleagues to support the administration on this resolution. Thank you.
Justin again.
Trustees, any other comments?
Yes.
See Trustee Flores and Foreman. Go ahead, then Flores.
So there are a few things that I'd like to address to start with. First and foremost, I've been on the board 6 years, and I've seen many items put on the agenda in less than 2 months. It happens quite frequently that items are put on the agenda in less than 2 months. One of the things that I heard Dr. Durant, you said, which is not a part of the resolution, is you talked about ratification. I said it earlier and I'll say it again. We have given the administration powers where the administration tells us they're going to do something specific and they don't. That is my concern. No, there's nothing on this resolution that talks about ratification. I heard it said, but there's nothing here that talks about ratification. Then the other thing that I think troubles me a bit, and not you, Dr. Durant, you know I love you, but the other thing that troubles me a bit is that these waivers are coming from the TEA all the time. And the board is always left behind. Now, while the other trustees might not feel comfortable in trying to understand what is going on a day-to-day basis for the district, although it's the superintendent's call, it is our responsibility to know exactly what is going on. And so we keep granting the superintendent authority, but we, the board, don't know what's going on. In fact, when we know it, it's on TV. So that's a problem for me as an individual. So I will be supporting this because I think there is an opportune time to come back to the board. And Dr. Durant, if you know the number of districts of the 1,100 that have granted the superintendent this expressed power, then I'd like to know what that number is.
You can put out a questionnaire through one of our organizations, and I'll bring back the responses from that questionnaire.
I have that now.
Trustee Foreman, that's all.
I'm sorry, I was off. I didn't.
Yeah, I'm just saying that to tell me out of 1,100 that we think other people have done it, I'd just like to know. It would be good for me as a trustee, as I vote, to have that kind of information, because I have seen far too much that we've done that other districts are not doing. So I just have some concerns. Thank you, ma'am.
Trustee Flores.
Thank you, President Henry. I mean, I'm just going to be brief. I'm looking at this resolution, and it seems to me that, at least in my experience, I've never gotten any information about whether or not we've, CPR done, completed the CPR training, whether we've, when I've looked at this list of the waivers, it seems to me that we're actually getting more information than we have in the past, because now the administration is going to say, hey, these are the kinds of things that you guys are always in the background. You guys, we do because we have to, because it's compliance with, and we need to do it. But if there's an opportunity or a need to be able to, either one of the current lists, I looked at the list from April and May, and the list from May is significantly longer. If this is something that is going to help, reduce the workload for the teachers, it's going to, make it better for our students because of the current circumstances, and we're going to come to the board and tell you this, which is something that we just don't usually get. It seems to me that the current resolution actually expands the power of the board to get more information that we would have otherwise. At least that would certainly be in my experience. Thank you. And so I respect the point of view of Trustee Johnson, and I can see that point of view. I understand it. I'm just not going to be able to support his amendment. Thank you.
Any other comments in the first round? Trustee Mitch K.
Yes, I've thought about this to some extent, that based on the comments that Trustee Johnson made, and I am certainly in agreement that the board should maintain its responsibilities and not delegate them away without a good reason, and that any delegations should be narrow. But in looking at the language itself, the language is actually narrower than it might first appear. The language says that the board will delegate to the superintendent authority to pursue any other necessary and available COVID-related waivers. So the administration can only do this if it is necessary, and I think that is a significant limitation on my initial concern about how broad it seemed at first. But the administration does have to make a showing of necessary. And then in the second sentence, it also contains the word needed. In the event that other COVID-19 related waivers are needed. So it's not just the fact that the TEA might put something on a list of COVID-19 waivers. The administration still has to show that they're necessary in our situation. So with that understanding, I think I can support the original resolution. Thank you.
Trustee Solis.
I just agree with what most of my colleagues have just mentioned, but letting you know, Trustee Johnson, I won't be supporting the amendment, but I appreciate the way you've gone about it and the way you structured the amendment, and no love lost here, bro.
Any others in the first round? I have a few comments in the first round. So I'm going to go ahead and take my time. A few things. I was going to ask some questions, but I want to address some of the stuff that I've already heard. So I heard earlier that something's, and I was an infant. I had to learn a lot about this. Someone mentioned that something was added today regarding parent notice. Chief Durant, I'm looking at the COVID-19 related waivers website. Which one was added today?
If you look at the very last one on that list, the very last one, they have a date by it. It said added 5/28/20. So what they're doing is that we're getting updates sometimes daily, sometimes every other day, and we keep checking it to see what else pops up, because as the TEA is bombarded by different school districts, then they'll just add it to it.
So that was just added, because I checked earlier today, and the last time it was added, it was May 21st, 2020. So that one was just added
today.
Thank you for answering that question. And you said, so with the CPR thing, we just had graduation already. You said our students have already graduated. So you said we're technically already in violation. Do you anticipate any consequences from being in violation?
No,
May I
believe
answer that one, Dr. Durant?
Absolutely.
So we have not been able to certify those transcripts, President Henry, so they're on hold because I can't actually produce a transcript by law that says they've met the requirements. So I am having to hold on to those. That would be one consequence.
So the consequences, if we were to approve the CPR aspect of this resolution today, you could do that today, and the kids, well, whenever, in a short time thereafter, the kids could have. So the consequences, the kids or our students wait a week maybe before they get there.
After you approve it, then we submit it to TEA. That's the quick part. That's where it takes 4 to 48 hours.
Do you envision TEA, given the circumstance of COVID-19, would give consequences to school districts for not immediately approving stuff like CPR instruction? No.
No.
I can't imagine. That'd be very.
Sir. Right. No, they do have a procedure that we're expected to follow.
Yeah. Okay. I asked this last week. Do we know out of all the school districts, how many have approved a resolution like this? Maybe Chief Elizalde or Chief Durant can answer that question.
Yes, I just received information that right now, from a quick survey that they took, we have Austin ISD, Fort Worth ISD, Garland ISD, Keller ISD, Lake Travis ISD, and Plano ISD.
Okay. And then, Trustee Minsky, I appreciate your perspective on the necessary and available. I think the first part does say necessary. I think we might have to agree to disagree that second sentence, needed, meaning the same thing as necessary. But that's neither here nor there. So going back to my questions, there's two buckets on this TEA website. There's the ones that require LEA action, the ones that don't. Can someone explain to me why there's two buckets?
Yes, the bucket that requires us to act on it are the ones that we bring to you for approval. The other ones they have already been taken care of for. So they already realize that those things are necessary, so everyone can avail themselves of that. And if you notice that,
why do some require our approval?
Because that's the way they've structured it. They structure what requires your approval and what doesn't, and we're required to follow that process.
And if I can add some, I think I can add some, because if, for example, on the ASVAB one, if our schools had already met all the requirements for offering ASVAB, we would not need to request the waiver. But if we have not had all the high schools offer it, we would need to we would need to request the waiver. So it's really a district dependent outcome based on what the issue is. Some of them are just a blanket that everybody can't, and some are whether we need it or not.
Maybe I'm not clear. From my perspective, when I see two buckets, and one requires action and one doesn't, it makes the one that requires action seem different. Otherwise, it wouldn't have to require board action. It would be down there with all the other ones. So I'm trying to figure out why some require action and some don't. Now I don't really need to get into the administrative of what it actually is, but why are there two buckets? Is it financially? Is it tied to finance? Is it statutory? To me, when it requires our action, it's a distinction. It's more important
Henry?
for something. Someone's determined that it has to go to the board. That's what I'm trying to understand.
President Henry, this is Stephanie. May I?
Yeah, absolutely. Whoever.
So it is based on the code. So when the government code under TEC talks about those that still require the local agency's approval, by law, TEA has to list those as those requiring LEA action. Those that TEA under the code does not require that, those can be listed. They can grant those without LEA approval. So
is it fair to say that legislators wrote the code to empower school boards to have authority in these spaces that are under the LEA action required?
Under normal circumstances, absolutely correct.
Okay.
And so if I could just add one more thing just to maybe help inform the decision-making process of the trustees. TEA is only putting the COVID-related waivers on this page. In other words, TEA is saying, we really think you need your trustees to approve them. That's why we're listing them. And so they are saying, we know you need your local board approval by law, but we really think you're going to need to get these approved. And so that's why they're being listed, and that's why they're coming up. As I said, if you look at just momentarily, I mean, there are two that were added on May 28th today. And so
which ones?
Those were the screening and treatment.
Actually, I'm sorry. That's not. I don't want to get into which ones are added. But I hear you. But those don't require action by the board.
And let me also add that we meet with the commissioner. Someone on my staff monitors every Tuesday and Thursday for an hour, and he'll tell us this is coming, that this is a waiver that if you have authority from your board, you can go ahead and execute. So I would highly recommend that you have some blanket language so that you can execute and move on these. And he tells us what's coming like every 2 days, twice a week. This is an example of those.
Thank you. Has there been a list like this before?
Never.
Is this
We've never been through anything like this before.
Right. There's never been COVID-19 before.
So there's a meeting weekly and folks are communicating what might be on it. Is anyone with any confidence able to predict what will be on this list in a month or 2 months or 3 months?
No way. In fact, we can't get them to tell us what the rules of engagement
Dr. H,
are.
I didn't hear the first part of your answer. I'm sorry.
I said no way. We can't even get them to tell us what the rules of engagement are going to be for August, and they say they're not going to let us know till July. And so, and some of those may require waivers, some of them may not. But we don't. He told us last Friday that we won't know till July what our requirements for August are going to be.
Okay, thank you. I indeed hope you're keeping time for me because I'm not keeping time for me, which is probably not the best. But when I look at these and hear these questions and answers, I think this is something we haven't seen before regarding these related waivers. For me, I don't know what's even going to be on this list. I think y'all just also confirmed that y'all don't know that it's going to be on this list. And I just, from my perspective, do not feel comfortable letting our oversight go on stuff that I don't even know what might be on this list tomorrow or the month, or who knows where COVID-19 takes us. And if something ends up on that list that fundamentally maybe disagrees with the philosophy of the board or enough folks on the board, we would have already waived our ability to have anything to say about that. So it's not necessarily about these individual items. So I apologize, Chief Elizalde, for cutting you off when you're describing one. It's really about the idea of, waiving oversight in advance. If I were to make it in one phrase, I'm not comfortable waiving oversight in advance in a situation that's just unprecedented and we just don't really know what to expect. I will support the amendment that Trustee Johnson has brought forward on the basis that I just don't feel comfortable with the board waiving oversight in COVID-19 in advance in uncertain times. And I don't have anything else for the first round, but if folks want to have any other comments, we can go to a second round. Are there any other comments?
Mr. Chair, I'll call the question.
I have a comment.
Second.
I'll remove the call to question so that Trustee Johnson can.
I remove the second.
Trustee Henry, are you saying something? I can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, I didn't hear any of that. Trustee Johnson, you have the floor.
Okay. I've heard my colleagues, and again, I hope that my colleagues that will support this, those that will, listen to the administration, and what we keep hearing is may not. I don't want to give my authority away on may or may not, nothing that's not solid. I think Trustee Henry, you said it best. It was also said that it's minute, so we should be able to do it. If it's not as urgent as it has been presented, and we see that it's not as urgent as it has been presented, then we should not be able to. We should not give our authority away. Again, the community has voted us to make these decisions. Although Trustee, this is not a broad sweeping waiver, but this is a broad request that's been asked, and so. It was also said that other districts are doing certain things, and we didn't look at other districts when we made the decision to have virtual graduation. So I don't want to base our decision off of what other districts are doing or what they're not doing. This is Dallas ISD. We say we're the premier district, then we make our own decisions. We don't do what they do, if you will. So that's been said. COVID-19 is broad. We don't know how long COVID-19 is going to be around. We can only speculate. And I don't want to just say we're going to give this authority away off of COVID-19 and give the decision as long as COVID-19 is here. That means the board will not make decisions. And this is not a time frame. As the other two agenda items, there was a time frame, a date. That's not what's going on here. And so I cannot give my authority away. And the board do not make decisions, which we were elected to do. In my personal opinion, it is a form, and a smidget, if I can use that word, home rule, where the board is not making decisions. And so I cannot do that. It's like we're trying to sneak something in the back door, and I don't agree to do that. I understand that decisions need to be made. I understand that, but as been said by the administration and as by our president, there's nothing certain. This is a possibility, and it may happen, it may not happen. And so I think that we can make that decision, and we have enough time to make that decision and make healthy decisions, and administration bring it back to the board. I do not want to give away, and I'm not going to support giving my authority away on may happen or may not happen. So I'm asking the board to support my amendment, and let's work with the administration. But at the same time, they elected us to do a job, and I want to do that job, and I'm not going to give away my authority, especially when it does not merit to do so with this particular agenda item. Thank you.
Trustee Mackey.
Thank you, President Henry.
I apologize. I didn't see you, and you were on my second screen for some reason. So,
no worries.
If you have your blue hand up and I'm not getting, you can go off mute and let me know that I'm ignoring you.
All right. Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you to Trustee Johnson for bringing this. I think this is a really thoughtful discussion to be able to have. I do notice some changes to this that you all took feedback from the administration side in it now, whereas it didn't at the briefing explicitly talk about COVID-related waivers. It now does in every paragraph, and I appreciate that. And what I hear coming up here is a fear of the unknown about, well, what could be out there that we do this. But as I look over this list, and I get to see this daily, these are waivers. So they're not a new opportunity of taking extra liberties. It is a waiver from a currently in law or policy from TEA mandate that impacts us currently, right? Nothing more than an allowance to not do something we are otherwise required to do in these cases. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And I think one thing that would help me, and so I think about, the other, we later on, or we already did under consent, pass the ability to explore the attendance waiver for a possible virtual school in 21-22. And that required a waiver from TEA to be able to explore that. Would a waiver like that be because that is, in a way, it's related to COVID, but it's not listed on this list of COVID-specific waivers. Would that waiver be considered, could it be considered under this resolution to be one of these needed and necessary waivers, or no, that would still come to the board separately?
Brian, you want to respond to that?
This is Stephanie. No, it would not. We're only asking for items that are specifically placed on this website under this title. No other waivers, even if we wanted to say, oh, they're COVID related. They have to be identified by the Texas Education Agency as a COVID-19 related waiver and would be needed to be listed on this particular web page.
And thank you for that. That really helps, because I think, again, the fear is, if the trustees were to relinquish something like that, that is a big mindset shift and something that requires discussion and understanding. And I'm excited we are doing that, by the way, and I'm glad it was on consent to go by. But I think that's the concern. And to me, these are all very particular things that, honestly, the districts have to waive them. No district in the state of Texas, I foresee, decides, hey, we're not going to submit that missed school day waiver that's on here. Same thing for CPR if they hadn't completed that. And so while I understand, I think this is a really unique governance conversation to have, and I appreciate Trustee Johnson for putting it here. These are all very particular technical things related to things that just don't apply in the current situation. So I appreciate this conversation. I'm going to support the resolution as is, but I want to really thank Trustee Johnson for bringing the conversation. And I appreciate y'all answering the question around the specifics around what waivers count and don't count. So thank you.
Trustee Solis?
I'd like to call the question, sir.
Second.
I'm going to call the question by Trustee Solis and seconded by Trustee Marshall. And that'll end the discussion. Trustees, we're casting our votes on Trustee Johnson's amendment, which removes, if you have it in front of you, sections 5 and 6 of the resolution. A vote yes would accept his amendment. A vote no would not accept his amendment, and we go back to the original language of the resolutions. I'm going to start with Trustee Flores.
Flores votes no.
Marshall votes no.
Mitch Gay, no.
Garcia, no.
Trustee Johnson, yes.
Foreman, yes.
Mackey, no.
Solis, no.
Trustee Henry, yes.
The motion fails. The motion fails, 3 voting yes and 6 voting no.
You're on mute, Justin.
Thanks, Trustee Marshall. We're going back to the original resolution as written. There's already been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I call the question.
Second.
I don't know who that was. Who called the question?
Marshall.
Second.
Trustee Marshall called question. Trustee Johnson second. Trustees, will you please cast your votes?
Trustee Johnson, no.
Flores,
Starting
yes.
with Trustee, well,
Flores,
start with Trustee.
I'm assuming that was a Flores yes that I am following with a Marshall yes.
Mitch K, yes.
Garcia, yes.
Johnson already
Johnson,
went.
no. Yeah.
Trustee Foreman.
Foreman, no.
Mackey, yes.
Solis, yes.
Trustee Henry, no.
The motion passes 6 voting yes and 3 voting no.
Trustees, you have just adopted the motion approving the resolution regarding CPR instruction waivers and general delegation of superintendent for COVID-19 related waivers. We're now moving on to agenda item 6.04, approve resolution regarding funding for public school systems in the next coronavirus relief bill. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been motioned by Trustee Flores and seconded by Trustee Marshall, I believe, to approve the resolution regarding funding for public school systems in the next coronavirus relief bill. Trustees, is there discussion? I'm going to go ahead and start with.
President Henry, make a couple of comments. This one was not on the briefing agenda. It was a resolution that's being put together by the Council of the Great City Schools and the American Association of School Administrators, along with the National AFT and a lot of national groups. A lot of people feel that education did not receive much in the CARES Act, and so now in the HEROES Act there are significant dollars for education, and so a letter was written and signed by 66 superintendents, and now the council asked, and all those organizations asked, if we could put a resolution so when they go to D.C. in the next coming weeks that there is a power of all these major districts signing the resolution. So we apologize for the lateness in getting it to you. It just got to us in this format. Dr. Lear, anything to add to that?
Oh, not at all. The letter is uploaded in case trustees wanted to see that letter. Trustee Henry, no.
Yeah, I was going to add, trustees, as you know, I'm your appointee on the Council of Great City Schools for School Board Trustees, and we have weekly calls with the other appointees of pretty much all the major urban school districts. And this has been an ongoing conversation for 2 weeks about having some sort of resolution that folks could take to D.C. and lobby both senators and House representatives in regards to putting more additional funding into public schools and in the next upcoming bill. So I'm going to apologize also, like Dr. Enos, I asked Chief Lear if she could work with the administration of putting this on this agenda. I also meant to say this on the last agenda item, but Trustee Foreman's point of seeing stuff get added quicker than, I don't know what was mentioned before, but the 3-month or 4-month, this was added in a shorter frame time than that. I think it's a good thing to be added, but it is possible to add resolutions shorter than that long runway that was described before. So I'm hoping that everyone supports this. Hope everyone got an opportunity to read it and vet it. I apologize as well for the short notice. I've read it. A lot of urban school districts have already signed on. It's very important from my perspective. So I have Trustee Mackey, Trustee Mitch K. Trustee Mackey, go ahead, you're on mute, and then Trustee Mitch K.
Sorry, I forgot to put my hand down. I think this is the right thing to support as we go forward.
Trustee Mitch K.
Yeah, I agree that this is something that we need to do, and I actually find it encouraging to see our school boards across the country are uniting to support this. And I think our public school system has been long underfunded, and right now we're in the middle of this crisis, and it's good to see that school boards around the nation speak with one voice. Thank you.
Trustee Henry?
Yes. Go ahead, Trustee Foreman.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for recognizing what I had said earlier in regards to what does happen quite frequently on the board agenda. Things pop up all the time. So the notion that it takes 2 months to get things done is not quite accurate. But let me tell you what my concern is about the letter. And again, it's the board finding out about these things afterwards. The superintendent signed off on a letter April the 28th, 2020. The board didn't know anything about this. So now the resolution is coming forward. And I guess my concern about it is that it talks about the shortfall that the districts have had in revenue. Well, DISD just said that we're saving about $6 million a month based on the fact that the kids are not in school. So are we saving money or are we not? Now, I clearly understand the part about funding. I know education, in my opinion, is not funded adequately. But when we sign a letter that basically says we're losing money, and then on the other hand, we come back and say we're gaining money, which one is it? And then the other thing is, this is after the fact, one more time. Thank you.
Trustee Foreman, can I respond to your question?
You may.
Yeah. So I asked the administration to add this after having a call with the Council of Great City Schools. So the timing from the board's perspective is something I asked to be on there. So I'll take whatever it is for that. And that whereas.
That wasn't my question. I understand why it's on the agenda. I get that part. I'm saying the letter that was signed by the superintendent is dated April the 28th.
Trustee Foreman, this is Pam. I'm going to take responsibility for that.
Pam, it's hard to.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, it's hard to hear you for some reason.
More trouble than me, Pam.
Oh, how about now?
No, that's not good either.
Okay, are you able to hear me?
Not really.
No. Well, I'm going to take responsibility for the letter not getting to the board. Because
Pam, you have a significant echo in everything you're saying.
I heard her. I can repeat you.
There's no potential for us to understand you.
I heard what she said. She said she'll take responsibility for what was done. It was very garbled.
Yeah, I respect that response, but I don't appreciate the fact that this board continues to get information from the administration after the fact. That is one reason that I'm concerned about all of these things that we do, because we don't know as a board exactly what is going on. Now, the Council of Great City Schools, we pay about $50,000 a year for membership. $50,000 a year for membership. And it just appears to me, if the superintendent is going to sign a letter that basically says we're losing money, that the board would know about that before the superintendent would sign that letter. Thank you.
Trustee Solis?
Yes, I would be supporting this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I don't see any other questions or comments. Trustees, could you please cast your votes, starting with Trustee Flores?
Flores votes yes.
Trustee Marshall?
Trustee Mitch K.
Mitch K votes yes.
Trustee Garcia votes yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Foreman votes no.
Mackey, yes.
Solis, yes.
Trustee Henry, yes.
The motion passes 7 voting yes and 1 voting no.
Thank you, trustees. You have just adopted the motion approving the resolution regarding funding for public school systems in the next coronavirus relief bill. Moving on to consent agenda items. So consider and take possible action to approve consent agenda items 7.01 to 7.50 as amended. The following agenda items have been pulled for a separate vote. 7.05, 7.07, 7.11, 7.20, 7.21, 7.26, 7.29, 7.45, and 7.46. I want to give the trustees an opportunity to place any of those items back on the consent agenda item, if they're willing. If not, we'll continue.
There's one, I don't have the number in front of me, but the one for the CAP program.
Could someone, I don't know that number either. Could someone let me know which number that is? It 7.05?
8.01.
Computer's not working.
What was that?
It's 8.01 on the pulled items. It's 7.05 on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Trustee Flores. Okay. So I'm going to restate that statement. The following agenda items have been pulled for separate votes: 7.07, 7.11, 7.20, 7.21, 7.26, 7.29, 7.45, and 7.46. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda as amended?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion was made by Trustee Flores and seconded by Trustee Mackey. Trustees, please cast your votes. Starting with Trustee Flores.
Flores votes yes.
Marshall, yes.
Mitch K, yes.
Trustee Garcia votes yes.
Trustee Johnson? Trustee
Can
Foreman?
you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Trustee Johnson, yes.
Foreman, yes.
Mackey, yes.
Solis, yes.
Trustee Henry, yes.
The motion passes 9-0.
Thank you, trustees. You just adopted the motion approving the consent agenda as amended.